Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined today by Andrew Erickson and Derek Brown. Fellas, we are talking top 32 tight ends. We already did this version of the show for the quarterbacks earlier this week, so if you missed that, be sure to check it out on YouTube or audio or wherever you get your podcast. That was a very fun episode. We went a little longer on that one. We're going to go today on the tight ends. Guys, let's dive right in, running through the top 32. The very clear top four, at least according to our early consensus rankings, which, by the way, can be found at fantasypros.com/rankings, are Brock Bowers at tight end 1, Trey McBride at 2, George Kittle at 3, Sam LaPorta at 4. That's the clear tier 1 in our early ECR across, I think it's about 40 experts at this point in the offseason. So possibly subject to change. I don't think these grouping is going to change too much here, Erickson.
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty lockstep with the top three guys and where they are, but Sam LaPorta, it's just the target competition, man. I have trouble wrapping my mind around, this was the issue last year and why I was pushing back against him as tight end 1, because why should we draft a guy tight end 1 when he's not even the number 1 target earner on his team? So that was a big concern for me with him last year, and him back up in this top tier again when, if anything, it's tougher than it's usually been, because now Jameson Williams is like a full-fledged breakout. Last year it was like, okay, maybe this guy's going to break out, we're not so sure, but now it's like, oh, well, now you have St. Brown as the alpha target earner. You have Jameson Williams, who they're already talking up again as a breakout candidate, which I didn't think was even possible because he already broke out, but they're like, he's going to break out again. So, I mean, LaPorta, yes, he's a tight end. He's really talented, great after the catch, but I don't know, maybe in this new offense, if they have an extra different wrinkle with Ben Johnson gone, they involve him a little bit more. Again, health was also a big issue with him last year, but there are so many other tight ends I'd rather have than LaPorta that go after him. So he's the only guy that I really push back against being up in the top 4.
You know, it's funny, D-Bro, I was talking on the quarterback episode about how I really wanted to get one of those kind of first 3 names at quarterback, which meant that I wasn't going to get a lot of high-end tight ends because you can really only have room to do one or the other for the way I want to build my team. Having said that, I really do want, in leagues where I choose to wait at quarterback, I really want to get one of Bowers or McBride. I do like all 4 of these tight ends to varying degrees, but I just feel like Bowers is such an easy tight end 1 and Trey McBride is such an easy tight end 2 that I'm going to feel way more comfortable at the position if I can just set it and forget it with one of those 2 guys. I do think they kind of stand apart from the others, even within this tier. Ooh. Of course, all 4 of them I still think are very good in this tier.
I don't disagree with you on Trey McBride and Brock Bowers. Now to Erickson's point, Sam LaPorta was not my tight end 1 of last year. That was Trey McBride, and if he could just score touchdowns, he would have been the runaway tight end 1. But we all kind of poo-pooed Kyler Murray and his outlook on the last episode. So for me, man, I have no problem with anybody drafting Trey McBride or Brock Bowers. The guy that I feel like, honestly, I'm going to be drafting the most out of this top 3 to 4 is George Kittle. I'm going to be drafting him everywhere because you're not paying the premium as much as you are for Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. You've got target competition. To Erickson's point, Brock Bowers is freaking awesome. He had no target competition last year. He's got a lot of target competition this year. Now, again, is he still going to probably lead the team in targets? Sure. But adding talented players around him when there were basically none outside of Jacoby Myers, who was also hurt last year, is going to impact him. Much less are we going to see, because for a lot of the team for the year, the Raiders were passing the ball a ton. Is that going to continue with Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly in town? I don't know, man. So I'd say, going back to George Kittle, we know what we're getting out of him, man. Since 2018, he's only finished outside the top 4 tight ends once. He's never been lower than tight end 6. In the last 3 years, he's been top 2 in 2 of those seasons. So George Kittle, and I'm getting a discount on him, and he's entering the year healthy. And there's Brandon Ayuk. What are we getting out of him this year? And there's no Deebo Samuel. George Kittle could easily be the tight end 1 this year, and nobody should be surprised, and everybody should take the discount.
It's a good point. I think I'm discounting it by saying it's those top 2. You're right, and it's not that I was saying Kittle should be ranked lower, but you're right. He especially the cost you can get him at compared to those other 2, I think is really enticing.
Screaming value.
I do just want to ask you guys. This is something that Fitz points out a lot when we talk about Trey McBride and some other players. Some guys, it's not that like touchdown regression is coming. They just have kind of an allergy of the end zone. Maybe it's the offense they're in. Maybe it's the player. Maybe it is just dumb luck. But Trey McBride, you talked about how he would have been the runaway tight end one if he'd scored touchdowns. This isn't like a fluke year of him not scoring touchdowns. He scored 1 touchdown in 2022, his rookie season. He scored 3 touchdowns in 2023, and he scored 2 touchdowns in 2024. And that's the last 2 years, despite getting over 100 targets each year, having a combined 5 touchdowns the last 2 years. Is this the player he is, Debro, whether it can be ascribed to the offense or the player? Or do you think there is a chance that we have a 9-touchdown season this year?
I think it's all fluke, dude. I don't buy into that stuff. Because going back to George Kittle, didn't we all say that about George Kittle? Oh, what if he could just score touchdowns? When in 2018 to 2020, it was 5 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, and then he proceeds to score 6, 11, 6, and 8 over the next 4 seasons. So I think it just comes down to a lot of that has to also talk, like, we could talk about the red zone targets for certain players, but also it comes down to target quality and what that looks like as well. I think a lot of that is more on Kyler Murray than it is on. I just don't subscribe to a player of Trey McBride, 6'4", 245, all the talent in the world, can command targets and all that kind of stuff. But oh well, he's not good when we get into the red zone, and he's not very like. Come on, man. Like no offense to Fitz. But no.
Fitz isn't saying he's not planting his flag that Trey McBride score touchdowns.
Fitz and I have talked about that, like with McBride and the touchdowns and stuff like that. I think it's more a variance than it's anything that I'm going to actually like believe that. Well, he just can't score touchdowns.
I want to weigh in here as someone that had a lot of money on Trey McBride anytime touchdowns, waiting for them to.
I remember you betting that every single week, dude.
Didn't we bet like that he was going to score 3 against the Panthers?
Dude, I thought it was all. I was like, the regression was just like matching because like the Panthers give up the most touchdowns.
They were like what bottom 3 or the worst against tight ends.
I thought it was inevitable. So I do want to layer because again, I was watching these like very closely, trying to figure out like what's going on. Like why is he not scoring any touchdowns? And they jam targets to Marvin Harrison Jr. in the end zone. Like they were trying to do it, and you look at just like end zone targets, red zone targets. Marvin Harrison Jr. again, he scored a lot of touchdowns last year in a underwhelming rookie season. He had more touchdowns than Trey McBride, which you look at and you're like, that's so weird, right? But they were really focusing in. At least Kyler Murray was. I'm not sure if that was Murray or if it was the play calling. Be like, hey, we got to force the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. And it was not effective really. I get he scored 8 touchdowns, or I think it was 8 touchdowns, but it took a lot of red zone targets to get there. So I think that when you zoom out, it's just better to bet on these guys eventually finding the end zone. Again, he's allergic to the end zone until he's not. All of the usage metrics that we look at that are predictive for touchdowns suggest this guy's going to catch more touchdowns than he did a year ago if he has a 27% target share, if he has all these monster usage numbers as the number 1 pass catcher in his offense. So I'll continue to bet on McBride to score touchdowns. Maybe I'll lose money, maybe I won't, but I can at least be okay with the process behind doing it. And I do want to say one more thing, too, bringing it back to George Kittle. Talking about touchdowns in general, I think that how you approach tight end is a little bit more league specific to your format. I would rather have a guy like a McBride or a Brock Bowers where these guys rack up receptions. So in a full PPR, they give you a bigger edge at tight end versus half PPR where you just got to score a touchdown. Like that's all you're kind of banking on. So you're getting, I think, less of a advantage with taking those types of players that you're not benefiting as much from their receptions, which is why Bowers and McBride are ranked as the top 2 guys versus the touchdowns, which is like in half PPR. Like that's why George Kittle, again, if you look at standard rankings or standard projections, George Kittle is number 1 in everything because he gets there by efficiency with yards and touchdowns, not necessarily a ton of receptions. So again, something to keep in mind as what is your format? Okay, I think I would rather wait a little bit more, maybe not go after a McBride or Bowers in a half PPR versus a full PPR.
Somebody like Mark Andrews kind of benefiting in that, standard format as well.
Mm-hmm. Just to highlight how bad it was for McBride, 15.6 fantasy points per game. He was the tight end 2 last year. He was tight end 1 in expected fantasy points per game with 19.2. So add touchdowns to this insane volume and this otherworldly like production, and he is the runaway clear number one dude.
And as Debro puts in our chat, 0 red zone targets against Carolina.
Versus Carolina.
It was pretty bad because I remember they were trying to get in. I remember him running a certain route like in the end zone. They were trying to get him the ball, but he was like triple covered. So it was like,
well, if he was over the middle of the field, Kyler Murray ain't gonna see him.
And then they had to jam it to Marvin Harrison, who didn't catch it, who like dropped it or something. So it was super frustrating. So yeah.
Welcome now to this week's Chasing Challenges, brought to you by Microsoft. Just like the athletes who push boundaries and redefine what's possible, business decision makers today are turning challenges into opportunities. Microsoft meets you where you are with tools and guidance that help you make an impact with safe, secure AI solutions. Players and teams are facing their own challenges. In this segment, we spotlight athletes or teams that are currently undergoing a challenge, what this means from a fantasy or betting standpoint, and examine how we think they can overcome them. Whatever challenge you're facing, Microsoft empowers you with the expertise to say, bring it on. This week, we're discussing the challenge faced by Mark Andrews as he enters the 2025 season with some question marks about his fantasy value for the first time in years. Andrews has been a model of consistency at the tight end position since being drafted in 2018 as Lamar Jackson's favorite target and the Ravens' all-time leader in receiving touchdowns. But there are more question marks in 2025 than ever before, with Andrews turning 30 before the season and uber-talented Isaiah Likely threatening to earn even more targets this year. And that's not even mentioning the fact that Andrews is coming off the worst game of his career in that brutal finish to the Ravens' playoff run in Buffalo. Andrews is still a tier 2 tight end in the consensus rankings, with Baltimore reportedly considered trading him this offseason, and it's unclear how many targets will be available for him this year. He'll have to shake off the painful memories of that playoff game and deeper target competitions to bounce back and give fantasy managers another elite tight end season. That's it for this week's Chasing Challenges. Remember, Microsoft's AI solutions empower you to take bold steps and make informed decisions, sparking new ideas to help drive your business forward. With Microsoft as your trusted partner, you can navigate your journey with confidence, finding innovative solutions and reaching new possibilities. Visit Microsoft.com/challengers to learn more. All right. We are going to the next group of tight ends here. I'm ignoring all the annoying things that Debro and Erickson are putting in our private chat.
Of course he picks a Raven for the challenging situation.
Okay, first of all, I've done a bunch of these Microsoft Challenger reads, and I think that's the first Raven I've chosen. It just happened to work out that way. I've done.
You just had to do it. You haven't done a show with us in a while.
You couldn't have thrown Kyle Pitts a bone? The guy who needs the most help?
Truthfully, it was the way.
No, he has to be a Raven. It
was where in the show the read came, so I had to pick a name that either we just talked about, and I'm not going to talk about the tier 1 guys, they don't have any challenges, or a guy that we're about to talk about, and Andrews is the one that stuck out because he had such a bad finish last season.
Challenging circumstances. Baltimore Ravens.
At any rate, the next group of tight ends we're talking about, this is I made kind of a larger tier. So this isn't, again, directly aligned with the tiers in ECR. This is just kind of, there's a large group of names here that I think you could have varying degrees in interest. So from tight end 5 to 12, TJ Hawkinson, Jonnu Smith, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, David Njoku, Evan Engram, Tucker Kraft, and Jake Ferguson. Again, that's tight ends 5 through 12. Erickson, who stands out for you here?
The Joker, Evan Engram. That's the guy that stands out the most to me. That's the guy I want. Like, we talked about the elite tight ends, but I have Evan Engram tight end 4. I just think that when we're talking about a full PPR, Evan Engram, even last year, was still really effective, averaging over 5 catches per contest in the games that he played last year, even though he only played 9 games. But we've seen him when he's been fully healthy. He just racks up receptions. And I could see very much him emerging as Bo Nix's, in his second year, his number 1 check down option. Like his binky, who he's going to, I'm under pressure because Bo Nix was not good under pressure last year. Okay, how do we fix that? Give him a nice big target outlet from the slot, however they deploy Evan Engram. But we've seen Sean Payton get unique with certain tight ends before. I don't think he's had the right tight end on the roster in Denver. So what do? He went out and got Evan Engram in free agency. They didn't draft or invest anything else in the draft really at tight end. So I think Evan Engram, again, Cortland Sutton is there. He was the alpha last year, but will he have a vice grip on the target share as much as he did? I don't think so. I think Evan Engram is going to see a significant amount of targets. I think it wouldn't surprise me if Evan Engram maybe isn't the leading receiver in terms of yards, but in terms of sheer volume and targets, I think he could out-target Cortland Sutton in his first year with Bo Nix. So Evan Engram has been a tight end 6 in his first season with all of his new teams, with the Giants, with the Jaguars. Broncos are next.
Debro, what do you think about Engram?
I I can't agree anymore. It is not possible for me to agree with anything more that Erickson has stated here, man. Like, he hit everything perfectly here. I have Evan Engram as my tight end 4 as well. I have him above Sam LaPorta, TJ Hockenson, Mark Andrews, all those guys. For everything that Erickson laid out, Evan Engram is going to lead this team in targets. That's going to happen over Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton got a ton of volume because he was legit the only full-time player in that offense last year. That's not happening this year. So Courtland Sutton, move aside, Evan Engram. And the thing I want to point out about Evan Engram is that, yeah, dude, like, let's just go back to 2023. He was the leader of the Jacksonville Jaguars passing attack. He was the tight end 4 in that season. I think you could see another 140 targets for Evan Engram. Now, here's the difference. Evan Engram has never gotten the red zone usage that he deserves. Not last year, but the 2 previous seasons in 2022, 2023. This guy ranked 14th and 19th in red zone targets and still put up the seasons that he did as the tight end 4 and tight end 7. If he gets top 10 usage in the red zone, and again, we're going back to touchdown stuff. Evan Engram, 1 touchdown, 4, 4, 3, 1, 3, 3, 6. He's never had a season where he's scored more than 6 touchdowns. Heck, outside of that, his rookie season, he's never scored more than 4 touchdowns. If he gets into that 7 to 9 range and gets that type of target volume, he's going to be a top 3 option at the position. He even quietly has tight end 1 overall upside. Like, that's the type of upside that Evan Engram brings. And yet, in ECR, he's tight end 10 behind Hockenson, who is definitively probably the 3rd option in that offense. Jonnu Smith, does he really continue to run as the number 1 option in the Miami passing attack? Probably not. Mark Andrews, I like him, and I think he's a wonderful value this year. But DeAndre Hopkins there, is he going to siphon off some of the touchdowns that really, really helped Andrews last year? Travis Kelce? Heck no. David Njoku, who is even the quarterback? No, dude. Like, I think Evan Ingram's ranking right now is egregiously wrong.
So I don't disagree on Engram over the guy I'm about to ask about, but I do think we have to discuss Kelce, just given what he's done in his career. And also, I wonder if the discount is too much on him because everybody is, oh, he's older, they're saving him for the playoffs. He was tight end 6 or tight end 7 in points per game through 17 weeks last season, and that was with only 3 touchdowns. I get that, like, the yards per reception were way down compared to his career. I get that his, like, the explosiveness was not there. If the touchdowns come back up, like, would it surprise you to see them use him more in the red zone this year? And if those 3 touchdowns get back up to, like, 8 and he's still, getting 100 targets, like, that would not shock me. And I wonder if maybe the discount is too far, Erickson.
I do agree that there's definitely some value potential with Travis Kelce. Again, he was 4th in expected fantasy points per game last year. But, again, you talk about the touchdowns. He had the opportunities last year. He was 1st in red zone targets, and yet he didn't score the touchdowns. Now, okay, does he fix that? Does he score double-digit touchdowns? Am I happy that he has a Mark Andrews 2024 season? Probably not. Like, that's the concern, that everything else is gone. Like, he's not racking up double-digit targets anymore. He's not getting the yardage. He's catching a couple balls here every single week, but he needs the touchdowns, and then when he doesn't score a touchdown, well, I started him, and he got me no points. So that's where I get concerned with him. I think in a best ball format, I think it makes more sense if you're stacking with Patrick Mahomes, you want to get that touchdown correlation. I think that makes sense, but I don't know, man. He's 35 years old. We clearly we saw him hit the age cliff. Like, it was so apparent. I mean, watching him in the playoffs, man, like, the guy looked like a shell of himself. And I get it's a little bit different at the end of the season, but he was considering retiring. So I'm just gravitating towards other tight ends.
He looked like that the entirety of the season, though, man. He just looks like lumbering. Like, I'm gonna say this, and I know it's blasphemous, but dude, he looked in a lot of instances as robotic as he looked and as lumbering as he was. Like, he looked like just the Ferrari version of, like, end of career Jason Witten, man. Like, it wasn't pretty, man. Like, I don't think Travis Kelce can reverse Father Time that much.
I don't want to play, like, too much of, like, armchair psychiatrist here. I do think, like, the Chiefs, they were riding very high going into last season. I think a lot of them kind of assumed that they would be getting the three-peat, and not that they didn't work hard. I'm not at all suggesting that, but that like I think mentally they were like coming off back-to-back Super Bowls. We're the best team, the best dynasty this league's ever seen. Like, you know, he was traveling with Taylor Swift all summer, like all that stuff. I think the fact that they got beat down in the Super Bowl this last year and he still decided to come back, I think he wants to go out on a high note. I think he's going to work even harder than he did last summer to try to get something close, you know, back close to what he was. I am not saying this guy should be a tier 1 tight end. I'm not saying he's going to be prime Travis Kelce. I'm just saying this kind of grouping of tight ends, I'm with you on Engram, should be higher. Some of these other ones, like, I might be inclined to just say, like, I'm going to buy into the first ballot Hall of Famer having one last ride over taking David Njoku or Jonnu Smith or somebody like that who's currently in the same tier as him is kind of my ultimate point. And I was very, very out on Kelce last year. I wanted nothing to do with him. I wanted all the other guys who were in that kind of tier 1, tier 2 range over him. This year, I wonder if maybe the discount will be so far because everybody's looking at the age, because everybody's looking at last year, when again, if he catches 3 more of those touchdowns, like you're talking about a top 5 tight end season last year in the worst year of his career. I don't think he's going to totally reverse the trend. Again, he's not going to be tight end 1 this year, but I just wonder if maybe Erickson, it's gone a little too far the other way.
I guess I'm just trying to paint the picture of, am I excited to get Travis Kelce on my team? Like, what if he starts out slow again?
I mean, I think that's the definition of a boring vet. It's not about excitement.
I mean, I like drafting excited guys. I mean, that's why Evan Engram, right? He's ranked after Travis Kelce. Evan Engram, like we said, talked about leading his team in targets. He's significantly younger than Travis Kelce. Again, he has injury concerns as well, but I don't know. I don't want to overthink this. Like, Travis Kelce hit an age cliff last year. Guys don't get better with age, right? Eventually, what if it just kind of like phases out entirely and he's not even featured? Maybe they use Noah Gray more in the red zone. Maybe those red zone targets are going to other players. So, I mean, Marquise Brown is going to be back. They have Jude, like, I don't know. I just feel like But
do you think? I mean, Kelce's not coming back to be the backup tight end. He would just retire if that was the point of his career. He thought he was at.
But he's got increased target competition. If Hollywood stays healthy, if Rashee Rice, if Xavier Worthy, all those guys are Jalen Royals, if all those guys are on the field and stuff like that, like that's also like it's gonna hurt him. Like, I mean, just looking at game logs last year too, like it is clear he's slowed down. Like, he didn't earn, and including the playoffs, he didn't earn more than he earned double-digit targets only once after week 13. He only crossed 90 receiving yards once after week 10. Like, I understand him coming back and chasing a ring, and I think he's going to be good for the Chiefs, but I don't know if he's going to be great for us in fantasy, man. It's just, I think you could still look at it and say, okay, he got 133 targets and he got 97 receptions. What if the target volume goes down some because he's not the guy he used to be and the receptions go down? Then, yeah, you could be looking at just a more expensive version of Mark Andrews, and you're praying for those touchdowns because the rest of it's not there.
I think I'm really more confident than you guys that he's going to catch more touchdowns this year. I think if he's healthy this season, he's going to.
But do you think the receptions and the yardage and all that other kind of stuff? Because all the rest of it's like, dude, he caught 97 balls last year, and he still didn't get over 900 receiving yards. Like, yeah, that's not good, dude.
I also think too, like there are other. I mean, talking about tight ends, right? Most tight ends are touchdown dependent anyway. So why do I want to draft the most expensive touchdown dependent tight end? Like,
fair.
Because
that's the other thing.
Because what I'm saying is I don't know how expensive he's going to be. I think it's not that I'm saying he should be ranked aggressively. It's that I'm anticipating the ranking in the ADP dropping, to a point where it's gone too far in the other direction.
I think too, my issue with Kelce is because he is Travis Kelce, and he has that touchdown upside like you've alluded to. I'm going to be afraid to move on from him if he's underperforming. I'm going to be putting him in my lineup that's why, I either want to
can't trade him away because he's going to go off in the back half of the season.
I want an elite tight end, or I want to punt it because if a guy sucks, I want to move on right away. But Travis Kelce, to me, it seems like, he's Travis Kelce. He's got Mahomes. He scored touchdowns last week, but then this week he didn't. And he seems like more of a headache to manage on a roster versus, this is like a great value play. Like, he's also going in that range of tight end at that 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 range that historically speaking, these are bad ADP bets to draft. The back end or that middle tier of tight end where they're not the elite, but they're just the best of the quote-unquote late-round tight ends. And I'd rather just
tight
punt it
ends
entirely.
so deep. Yeah. We do that every year.
I actually don't think I'm going to be rostering a lot of Kelce. I might not have him anywhere, but I think in our like in the Fantasy Pros season-long rankings competition, I would anticipate that I rank him higher than consensus because I think it's going to be boring, but I think he will get more value. But I think it's a very good point by you, Erickson, that he will still be a difficult tight end to have on your roster given the nature of how the season will play out. But I think he will finish higher than his ranking. Like
basically Kyler Murray of tight ends.
Oh, that's a really
yes.
good comparison. But yes,
yes, in a different way, yes. All right, moving on from this group, tight ends 13 to 18: Dallas Goedert, Dalton Kincaid, Colston, Loveland, Tyler Warren, Hunter Henry, and Kyle Pitts. Some youth here, some obviously a couple of rookies here, some not youth here, some veterans as well. Kind of a mixed bag in this grouping. D-Bro, let's do the rookies quickly. Loveland and Warren, year one. What degree of interest do you have in having them on your roster?
Not a lot, dude. I mean, Loveland, it's such a tough target tree to figure out. Like when you're looking at where the target's going to go, is it going to be DJ Moore? Is it going to be Roma Dunze? Is it going to be Luther Burden? Is it going to be DeAndre Swift? Like, and when this all comes back to like, we're all like, okay, who's going to get the targets? The thing I keep coming back to is we still have to see Caleb Williams support one really good fantasy option, much less multiple ones. I'm staying away from Loveland and I'm staying away from Tyler Warren. Like, I don't really have a lot of like want or need to draft these guys because I think they're going to be in every single 2026 buy low sleeper value article that will be written. I think Loveland, my worry, not only is it how many options can Caleb Williams support because he is coming off a legendarily bad rookie season where he was bottom 5 in every single metric. And there's a lot of hope and hype that is all tied to just Ben Johnson figuring it all out for Caleb Williams. I don't know if that happens. And Tyler Warren, again, you got Josh Downs. You got a healthy, supposedly a healthy version of Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Adonai Mitchell, all those guys. And yet we're still talking about an offense that is going to be led by Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. Neither one of those guys are going to lead a high-volume passing offense. So Tyler Warren, like, okay, fine, he leads this team in targets. What is that? Is that 80? Okay. And now we're talking about a team that's top 5 in red zone rushing rate. So he gets 80 targets and he scores 3 touchdowns. Even if he gets 80 targets and he scores 3 touchdowns, then what are you talking about? Probably like tight end 15. So I'm not, this entire tier of guys, I want nothing to do with. Like Dallas Goedert, he's fine, but there's not a lot of ceiling there. Dalton Kincaid, I don't even know if he's going to be healthy this year. All the injuries he dealt with and what does his route share look like? Both of these rookies, no. Hunter Henry maybe is the only guy here. And that's only with Drake May taking a leap. But honestly, if I get to this tier of tight ends and I don't have one yet and I'm in a draft, I'm probably just saying, forget this tier of tight ends. I'm going to pull up the schedule and say, okay, who is playing who in week 1? And I'm just going to stream somebody in week 1 and figure it out from there. I'm just not going to worry about drafting a lot of these guys.
Erickson, would you rather draft one of the rookies here or one of these young guys like Kincaid or Pitts who haven't done it yet but at least have been in the league?
I still like Kincaid because I just think Kincaid was just completely injured last year. I don't think he was really ever healthy, and I think that the Buffalo Bills, by the moves that they've made, by not investing a lot in other pass catchers, that they believe that Kincaid can still take a step. And again, I know that we want tight ends to break out right away, and a lot of them do, but some of them still take time in the league, a couple of years to really fire. Josh Allen is still his quarterback. Again, besides Khalil Shakir, I think that Kincaid could still be second on the team in targets. Like, we know Shakir is Mr. Reliable, but if there's a ceiling elevator in this Bills offense, I think that could still be Kincaid if he is healthy. So I still like taking shots on him as a late round tight end. I like Hunter Henry a lot. Like, when I'm looking, if all the tight ends are gone and I'm just like, oh man, I need a guy to start week 1, Hunter Henry is the guy that I want. Again, talking about my love for Drake May, last year, Hunter Henry, 5th in red zone targets, 2nd in targets inside the 10-yard line. Talking about touchdown, people being allergic to the end zone. Hunter Henry scored twice. He scored 2 touchdowns despite having really strong red zone usage. So, again, a lot of new pieces in this Patriots offense. You know who was there all year long with Drake May? Hunter Henry. And it was also very weird because Austin Hooper was also very involved in that offense. But it's a different offense this year. It's Josh McDaniels. It's not Alex Van Pelt anymore, who relied a lot on 2 tight end sets. So if it's more of Hunter Henry, Stephon Diggs is still coming off a major ACL injury. I think Henry is a dark horse candidate to lead the Patriots in targets. And that is very rare to find any player outside the top 15 tight ends in consensus rankings. So that's the guy that, in case of emergency, I'm like, all the tight ends are gone. I need to start somebody week 1. Hunter Henry is the guy I like, and I like the idea because I compare him with my late-round quarterback. It's like back-to-back picks. Hunter Henry, Drake May. I got my quarterback and tight end figured out. If they hit, they'll hit together. So those are the guys that I like.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how open are you guys to me making the case for Kyle Pitts?
I'm always open to some entertainment.
Can I give you a negative number?
He's 24 years old. Erickson, you just said that tight ends sometimes take a couple, years to develop and get there. I'm gonna try this without laughing.
And that's it.
I feel like the case is open and shut, Worm.
He's coming off his career high in touchdowns last season.
Touchdowns, the thing that we're talking about.
How many was that?
Dude, he's better than McBride because he got more touchdowns than McBride.
He's got up in touchdowns every season.
By
to 4.
He had 1 in his rookie season, 2 in his second season, 3 in his third season, and 4 in his fourth season. He is probably playing with the most arm-talented quarterback he's ever played with. Now, full season of Michael Penix. He had a yards per reception of almost 13 last year. Listen, I am not saying I'm going to be drafting.
This is not a bulletproof case you're making, Worm.
What I'm saying is,
this sounds like more like we're having a therapy session here. Like you're working through some things.
What I'm saying is, he's not going to cost you anything. He's tight end 18 right now, and this is a guy who was a top 5 pick who's still only 24 years old and will still be 24 at the start of the season. Who has had injury stuff that might have set him back early on in the career. And again, this is a long developing position. It takes a while to get good at the NFL level. I would rather draft him than Pat Freiermuth. I'd rather draft him than, frankly, Dalton Kincaid. I'd rather draft him than any of these rookies, and I like them better long term, of course, but year 1, these rookies. I'm just making the case that as a complete lottery ticket at the point in the draft that you will be in when you need to draft him, if you want to get him on your roster, I will be interested in getting him and seeing if this is the year it happens. I will not be making him my tight end 1, but I think there's a case to be made that the upside is such that he should be ranked higher than this. I guess that's my ultimate point. I just made the case for Kelce and against you guys. I can't fight you on another player, but I wanted to at least throw it out there given the pedigree with Pitts and the fact that he's still so young, Erickson.
Debro, do you want to take it? It seems like you were ready to go to battle.
I just can't.
Yeah, when a guy gets out targeted by Ray McLeod, it's very concerning.
Erickson made 1 point and absolutely just came off the top ropes with that 1 point.
So, I mean, I understand if you were to make the argument for Pitts over Loveland and Warren, again, all guys that have really strong draft capital, but Pitts obviously playing in the NFL has a little bit more experience. I kind of just feel like the Falcons are kind of over Pitts. That's my concern, that he needs to new team. He needs new everything. Again, to your point, he
wasn't even a full-time player last year,
Could he be following the path of, such as a Delaney Walker, right? Where he's kind of forgotten about if the 49ers moves to the Titans and becomes an integral part of their passing game. I think that Kyle Pitts maybe just needs a fresh start somewhere else. I know that I think he was floated on some trade rumors, so because the Falcons seem so much more Bijan. All they've done since drafting him is draft more skilled players. That's all that they've done. And it's under different regime. Again, it wasn't the same regime. Those are my concerns with Pitts, in that this specific coaching staff doesn't necessarily have the same amount of, we got to get, this is his last year. Like, he's in a contract year. So, yeah, I know they've already talked about he's going to have a big year, and then he has a laundry list of things he has to work on to get better at. So, I mean, a tight end 18, like you said, he's free. But, so I don't hate the value perspective with a Kyle Pitts player. But, I mean, if we're shooting for upside, give me Isaiah Likely, man. If Mark Andrews washes out, I can put Isaiah Likely in my lineup. I've seen that guy be a tight end 1. Like, that's where I would shoot for upside with a younger player, would be Isaiah Likely, in case Andrews flames out or, gets hurt or something like that. So, just to make the upside debate in similar range where Pitts is going.
My biggest issue with Pitts is that I can't be in on a player when the team itself, to Erickson's point, when the team themselves is out on the player. Like, and just for just this one point. When they decided, if you look at where he started at the beginning of the season, this guy was playing 96, 79, 70% of the snaps, 80% of the snaps. From week 8 on, he eclipsed 60% of the snaps in only 2 games. So, like, for me, I can't be in on a player that the team is telling us he's not even a full-time starter in our offense. And the fact of, like, just the routes themselves being limited are going to crush him.
I tried to make the case. It was mostly devil's advocate. I agree.
Even Worm is putting up the white flag. He's like, nah, can't. Never mind.
It was worth a shot. I didn't really believe it as I was saying it. I with you on Likely, by the way, Erickson. We'll just kind of wrap up with the rest of them. I mean, I don't think we need to go too deep at this point.
I got one guy I really want to bring up.
I'll just read the names quickly. It's this is from 19 through 32 at tight end. Pat Freiermuth, Zach Ertz, Isaiah Likely, K. Otten, Mike Gesicki, Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet, Chig Okonkwo, Jatavian Sanders, Mason Taylor, Brenton Strange, Juwan Johnson, Elijah Arroyo, and the aforementioned Noah Gray. I think Likely is a great late draft pick because if Andrews misses any time or does fall off the cliff, he is going to be a top 6 tight end. Like, I am that confident in Likely's ability to be an elite tight end if Andrews is not in the picture. So I think Likely is a great late draft pick, even if you have a good tight end that you're comfortable with. A lot of these other names, it's more like you kind of squint to see the case. I think Brenton Strange is pretty undervalued, honestly, too. We already talked a bit about that offense in the other show. And then, of course, there's some rookies here as well. Debra, you said you had a name or two that you wanted to highlight?
2 guys in this list, and you want to talk about upside, and one of them we've seen it, and the other one I'm going to make a huge case for. Mike Gesicki in this tier, he shouldn't be in this tier. I mean, look, we know the top 3 pass, and I know the splits last year, I wrote about this in the primer every single week. The splits last year with Gesicki, what he did when T was in and out of the lineup were just massive. Like, Gesicki wasn't a part of the offense whenever T was out. I think you could see that kind of even out this year because Andre Yoshivas was not a high-end target earner. We still all fully believe that the Bengals defense is going to be terrible this year. So we know that Joe Burrow is going to be chucking the ball. So Gesicki as the true number 3 option in that passing attack, you could sell me in a world where he's a top 12 tight end this year. And the other guy that I want to bring up here, and I think that he is the dollar store version of Sam LaPorta in terms of he is going to be definitively the number 2 target in this passing attack. We've seen this quarterback support multiple guys, and one of them being a tight end in previous stops. Mason Taylor is going to get a ton of targets, dude. There is nobody after Garrett Wilson to catch the ball there. I'm sorry. Allen Lazard? No. Malachi Corley? No. Arian Smith? No. All these other guys. Mason Taylor is going to be their starting every down tight end, I think, in week 1. And I think you're looking at, is the Jets offense gross? Sure. Does that still mean that people got to catch the ball and he has no other target competition in that passing attack besides Garrett Wilson? Yeah, man. Like, I think Mason Taylor is the guy, like, if you want to wait and punt tight end, whether it's best ball and what have you, he is the name of a guy that, like, nobody's talking about that could go out and get 100 targets this year.
Erickson, what do you think about this group?
So I think Freiermuth's kind of undervalued, to be honest. I mean, he's a clear-cut number 2 option on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, we don't know who the quarterback is, but Arthur Smith, his offenses revolve around tight ends. Like, there's a reason why Freiermuth caught a ton of balls last year. And it's funny, Worm, I'm sure you know this, he sucks against the Ravens, but he's good against every other team. So you just don't play him against the Ravens. And again, I think he's going to, again, to your point about Travis Kelce finishing much higher than his ranking, I don't think Freiermuth's going to be tight end 19. Like, I think that's low for where he's going to end up finishes based on his body of work. Like, he's always around that back end tight end 1 range if he stays healthy. And again, it's very dependent on the quarterback, but after Hunter Henry, I think that he is an emergency tight end. Like, hey, I need someone steady that's going to not kill my lineup every single week. I think Freiermuth, again, I don't think that he has like insane upside, so it depends on the format that you're looking for, but I don't hate him as an option. The guy I do really like that I think is kind of being slept on is, I'm surprised you didn't bring him up, is Chig Okonkwo. Calvin Ridley's the number 1. Who's the number 2 on the Tennessee Titans? They drafted a bunch of rookies. They have.
I think it's going to be Gunnar Helm. That's why.
So I'll push back on that because this is the same coaching staff that was there last year, and who was breaking out at the end of the season last year was Chig Okonkwo. Like, he was having monster games. And again, going back to, is this current coaching staff invested in said player? This coaching staff showed the willingness to get the ball to Chig Okonkwo at the end of last year. And again, it flew way under the radar because the Tennessee Titans were a terrible team. You know, fantasy playoffs were wrapped up. It was over. But Chig Okonkwo finished the season really strong over his last 3 games. Last year of his rookie contract. Again, talking about young tight ends, talking about guys explosive with the ball in their hands. Chig Okonkwo is not a catch the ball and fall down. Like, he can create yards after the catch with chunk plays. So when we're looking for, okay, Cam Moore, we got question marks. How good can he be? Well, what if it's not Calvin Ridley that's just like commanding this like uber high target share? Tyler Lockett, he disappeared last year. And then it's a bunch of rookies. But then there's Chig Okonkwo. So I think that he's really interesting as a guy that can kind of emerge from the woodwork of, oh, if Cam Ward hits, I think that he's going to probably bring Okonkwo with him.
Any other just final thoughts, D-Bro, on like tight end strategy in general? Are you trying to get one of these early guys?
I mean, this entire episode just makes me feel like I'm going to be paying up. Like, I'm going to walk away probably from a lot of different drafts with one of the top 3 guys in a lot of my draft. Basically, it's the top 3 or Evan Engram is probably going to be my tight end strategy for most of my drafts this year.
Erickson, what's your strategy?
So I like Evan Engram, so that's going to be – but again, I don't know how early he's going to go, right? We have him tight end 4, and he's tight end 10 in ECR. So
the highest he's going to get was what, Erickson? Tight end 5?
Yeah.
Like, probably tight end 6. He probably doesn't even hop TJ Hawkinson, like with the name value. Like, so what, tight end 6?
Yeah, so that's probably the guy that I'll circle if I'm not going for one of the elite guys. I think, honestly, I mean, George Kittle, man, just the fear that he strikes into my opponent every single week because they know he can put up a 35-point game. I kind of like having that power with George Kittle. I know he's going to miss a couple games because he's get banged up, but just the consistency that D-Bro laid out. He's a top 5 tight end every single year. And if we're ever going to look at a season where they could rely on him the most, wouldn't it be a year where Debo's gone? Ayuk's coming back from the injury. I mean, Brock Purdy's going to lean on him.
Just got the bag. Just got paid.
So I like Brock Purdy a lot. So George Kittle would probably be the guy, especially in half PPR, where you get so much benefit from the touchdowns, the receiving yards, and you don't need as much reception heaviness from the guys like Brock Bowers or Trey McBride. So I like that. But ultimately, I still try to lean on just going late round tight end. So again, a couple guys I'm circling in the middle rounds. I really like Tucker Kraft a lot. I know D-Bro doesn't like the Packers passing game, but I think Tucker Kraft's a beast. I think that he's an absolute monster.
I love Kraft.
And that's why
I can't make a case against Kraft. And it comes down to Green Bay's passing attack.
And that's fine. But the way I see it is, okay, if none of these receivers are going to step up, then make the tight end. Make him the focal point of the offense. Make him George Kittle. And make him discord. Because he's, from a talent standpoint, man, like yards after the catch, man, Tucker Kraft can do it all, man. I think
he's a beast, dude.
I've loved him ever since he first came out, and I was very much on him over Luke Musgrave, and that worked out. So Tucker Kraft has been good to me, so I'm going to continue to pound the table for Tucker Kraft. And then after that, it's Hunter Henry season.
All right, we'll go ahead and wrap up there. If anybody missed the quarterback version of this episode, we released that a couple of days ago on audio and on YouTube, so be sure to check out that. It was a very fun conversation as well. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to both episodes, quarterbacks and tight ends here. We're into May. We're thinking about real rankings now. It's a very fun, going to be a very fun summer here talking about rankings with you guys.
Are you drafting Kyle Pitts? Let us know in the comments.
Because Worm is.
Worm's making the case for good content. Worm is not doing a whole lot of Kyle Pitts.
You didn't put him on the Microsoft ad because he needs the most help. Come on.
Because of when the ad read was done in the show. Thank you.
If Kyle Pitts gets traded to the Ravens, Worm's gonna have a jersey tomorrow.
No, but if Isaiah Likely didn't exist, yes, I would be all in on a trade like that. For Erickson and Debro and Kyle Pitts, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again next time.